We'll get started.
Call the meeting of the Airport Authority to order. Regular meeting for November 26th. Minute approval.
So moved.
Okay.
Seconded.
Meeting minutes have been published and motion. Any additions, corrections?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I asked before, have we got correspondence back from the city whether Mr. Pepcorn is participating with these meetings or is not a party to it anymore on behalf of the city?
Stacy, have you gotten a response from your letter?
I have not.
Okay.
I only inquired verbally, however, just to be clear.
So no, answer your
Thank you.
question. We have not heard back. Hearing none, other than that question, we will approve the minutes as published. Approve vouchers totaling $72,523.84. Entertain a motion for those.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the question.
Lynn?
Aye.
Hingham?
Aye.
Lind?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye. Approve individual vouchers A and B. Entertain a motion on those.
Motion to approve both.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on those two? Hearing none, call for that question.
Lynn?
Aye.
Hingham?
Aye.
Lind?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye. Number 4 is a presentation by the Fargo City Engineering Department.
Darren's still setting up
Is
his
he
deal there if he wants.
not quite ready?
No worries. We got two things.
Okay.
To do 5. These will take 30 seconds.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
okay, so.
receive communications from Dr. Nagel to extend the South GA hangar ground lease.
Yeah. He's got a hangar. He re-sided the whole bottom half of the hangar here, oh gosh, this fall.
Yeah, just recently. I was down there and looked at it.
Yeah.
What they were working on.
And he is current pilot license, medical, airworthy aircraft, so it'll be a 5-year extension to his ground lease.
He did extensive work on the hangar on the ground remodel, or taking out corroded tin and putting in new metal. So it looks good. Motion to extend the lease for 5 years.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Received communication from Rivera Nexus to extend East Side Terminal lease.
Okay, it's a current tenant on the second floor of the East Terminal Building that wants to renew their lease for another year, changing the name to an associated company called Riviera Nexus, so Mark Cromack's our contact. Stacy's got the lease all drawn up. 3% escalator was put into the lease.
Entertain a motion.
Will approve the motion.
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
North Star.
We received communication from North Star Insurance regarding the renewal of our liability policy. Sean?
So Mark LePage, North Star, is our broker for this, and in accordance with how we've done this in the past years, the renewal premium with a $5,000 deductible for bodily injury, property damage occurrence with a $25,000 aggregate would be at $57,762, and that's what we would recommend that you would approve today for our 2020 airport liability policy.
Say the number again.
$57,762. It's up slightly from last year. I think it was 40 some and change, but
Okay.
as he says, employment activity is up, and you know, it's a harder market that aviation entered over the last year with 737 issues and so forth.
Move to accept.
Got a motion, second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the insurance? Let's do a roll call.
Okay, Lynn?
Aye.
Hingham?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
And I just want to make sure that this is what we pay every year for our liability.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
The city has absolutely no liability on the airport.
Okay.
Zero.
So do that.
Well, how are we doing, Darren?
Yeah.
We're almost done with the meeting, so.
That went quick.
Yeah.
They don't sit around. They can be done, they can be done. Unlike others. It'll take a second. Thanks for coming out, Roger.
Thank you, Sean. Just introductions. My name is Roger Cluck. I'm in the City Engineering Department. I work in stormwater and flood control. I have Brenda Derrick, the city engineer here, and Jody Bertrand, who's the head of our department, flood control and stormwater. The reason we're here today is to present, take input from the airport authority on a proposed flood control route. Our project started in 2016, looking at a route across the north side, north of County Road 20, to do flood control for the north side. And with that, we went through 2016 and 2017 working with the FAA on environmental clearances. And about that time, then, excuse me, diversion plan ran into some legal difficulty and was put on hold. Earlier this year, the diversion authority came up with their plan B, was given the go-ahead to resume their flood control project. We started having visits with Sean and with FAA on a proposed route, and through the summer into this early fall, we've come up with the route that you see there. We start in the southeast corner of the city lagoons. We go east on the north side of the section line. That was suggested by the FAA to avoid land that they had helped fund. The land on the north side there was purchased with airport funds, but not FAA supported airport funds. We go on east, we put on the drain, we put a lift station, and then we continue over to the west side of New County Road 31. We then go south, parallel to County Road 31 to the south edge there, and then go east on the south edge of the park. We try to minimize the effects on the the land that you rent out to the farmers. That's pretty much in a nutshell the route that we've worked on, and we're looking for airport authority approval of the route, and to start discussions with Sean about the costs of the right of way, whether it would be donated, whether there be a flat payment or a purchase. That I guess that would be up to the airport. But this would allow us to continue the process. Our goal is to get this under construction in the spring, summer of 2020. With permit, we can get all the permits in place. We have been meeting by phone once a month with the FAA and the Corps of Engineers to continue the process. And one thing I forgot to mention also, we would need, if you approve of the route, the airport to request from the FAA a Section 163 waiver, and that's basically it's an environmental waiver that we're going through on airport land rather than FAA land, and it just cuts down on paperwork immensely for us and for FAA on the project. At this point, what we have up there is what you've seen before, the stuff I sent Sean on Friday. So I guess I'll address any questions you may have about the project.
What are the dimensions of the elevation width?
The levee is approximately 6 feet tall. We'll have typically the 4-1 side slopes. So the 4-1, 6 feet, you have about 25 feet on either side along with a 10-foot flat top. And we'll be drainage swales to maintain the flow either east or west. So 60 feet would be the hard footprint, and then maybe about 80 feet would probably be what we need for total swath.
It's a little hard to see, but in the handout was a kind of a typical cross-section for the levee. But as Jody mentioned, yeah, on the average, it's about 6 foot tall. And then outside the toe of the levee is a 15-foot clear zone. I mean, they'd be able to farm that, it's just, we don't allow people to build within 15 foot of the levees. And obviously, I don't think your intent is to build any tall buildings there, so.
Mr. Chairman? May I ask a question? What is the approximate protected zone that this is being afforded for?
This will provide, the north side protection. I know it goes south of County Road 21.
Yeah, we've got one project that we're working on as part of Plan B is diversion to the Riverwood area. That's kind of the next, so it's along the main stem of the Red River. Other than that, it's pretty contiguous. What this project, again, kind of mentioned, starts on the western portion. It actually goes through the right-of-way of the DOT and ties into the railroad embankment. So we'll be coordinating with both of those two entities to tie in the high ground on the west end, tie into the lagoons on the north. One reason it's kind of selected up there is the city area owns some of the ponds and stuff on that portion, so the required easements and the construction a little bit simple, I guess, in our work. Is there another portion?
Yeah, then does this expand or allow for expansion of any housing and development in the surrounding
What it
area?
does is there's everything that was kind of built with a lot of property after 2009. We've had an influx of commercial, whether it's DigiKey or a lot of people have kind of been investing on 25th Street and to the west. We've got 3 roadways through there. So we anticipate that there'll be further growth to the north. We have had some discussions with the property owner, I think west of the airport property, maybe it's even closer to the county road, about possible development or developer approaching us. So it will be several hundred acres, I guess, south of the pond.
Would you want to show them on the map, Jody, if you just want to illustrate a little bit, maybe? Or Roger?
Yeah, we've, from 25th and west, all of this would be allowed to develop without the individual developers having to build a levee. This levee would come across the north side up here and tie in. This is parkland and city land, obviously lagoons, then we'd come across here. So all of this would open up. And we've had, there's people looking at this piece right here to develop, as well as I was out this summer, and there's interest kind of in this block here. So pretty much all the industrial land north of the airport could expand.
But that little neighborhood just west of the river on the, where you follow the new County Road 31, that one, you cut that whole neighborhood off?
Well, this neighborhood is already protected by the old county road and through there.
So the levee we're constructing on the west side of 31, the new 31 they just built 2 years ago, it's only about a foot higher or so on just a portion of the roadway. So it's very similar. We looked at using it, but the way they constructed it, using some soil cement base material, kind of made it inappropriate to use it as the actual levee itself.
Our
So we'll be building
aerial
most
photo
of
isn't
the
up to
west.
date, so.
So that neighborhood's gonna have a levee on both sides, man?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And I guess we talked to the county, kind of looking at the road alignment along with what could be done there. And I guess they've only got 2 segments of infill that they do during the big flood events that they kind of cap off to protect themselves in the bigger flood events. So that's the current course that the county does to protect them.
The other thing I'd like to mention is last spring when we had I call it the near miss, we were looking at having to build temporary levees all the way across here to protect all this commercial and the public infrastructure that's already in the ground. So we found that area is at great risk in the higher water events.
What's that zoned? What's it zoned at? Is it
I'm pretty
commercial?
sure it's industrial.
Industrial, commercial, okay.
So as you kind of touched on real briefly, there's going to be that lift station right on the drain that allows to block off the drain, and then if there's a rain event, to still pump over the top to keep the drainage back flow.
Does the current lift station at County 20 and Drain 10 go away? That one goes away?
Won't be immediate, but yeah, that would be.
So there's a
evolvable.
lift station right here.
Yeah.
Eventually this one would go away and be replaced by this one right here.
So when you look at the total acreage on page 2, so the permanent and the temporary easement, the total is 31.53 acres. We're averaging 150 an acre with cash rent from the farm. It's a little bit higher in this area, but just using 150 acres, so you're about a little over $4,700 in cash rent. Just in the first year when it's constructed. When the temporary goes away after construction with the permanent, then you're looking at about $2,700 to $3,000, depending on what the cash rent is for that area. So that's the impact, I guess, if you will, to the revenues.
So what do you need from us?
Well, we're looking for approval of the concept, and then I would assume you would authorize Sean to continue the discussions, looking at how you want to establish a value for the land. And then the third would be to submit that waiver to the FAA so we can keep the process moving. So the three steps that I have on the second page of my memo to you.
We haven't charged for easements in the past. It's possible the FAA would look for compensation if it's on property purchased with federal funds. That would leave the door open for that as we go through their process.
But
we
these
can-
weren't.
These weren't.
These weren't.
No. So we can either donate, request an appraisal to determine the land value, or negotiate a value per acre for compensation for temporary construction and the permanent flood control easement. So there's three options for you to consider.
Okay.
So one of the options is for you to negotiate on our behalf. Is that correct?
Right, I mean, everything would be final here at the board.
Yeah.
And certainly.
But
if you
just to
want-
continue the discussion and,
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we authorize Sean to act on our behalf for the best interests of the Airport Authority and the City of Fargo and the residents to move forward and work with the City Engineering Department to accommodate this, and then bring it back to us for final approval.
Okay, second?
second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So do you favor an appraisal? Do you know how long that takes, Brenda or Jody, Roger?
It'd probably take about 4 or 5 months.
And what's your timeline? Not that long?
We're hoping to be in the ground, depending on the spring, June.
I can talk to Sean Bollinger though and just see what we've done. I mean, we've had appraisals not right there, but we've had them kind of in the vicinity too. So we can get you some of those prices and start looking there, and then kind of take a look and see, and then we can check. I know some of them have been taking a while. I can have Sean check and see if we can get a quicker turnaround on that.
I think it
also.
might be better for the board to understand the value.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to do it without.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it's probably gonna be a 2-year process, lift station, we're gonna have to go ahead and put overbearing, let it settle for a number of months, 9 months at a minimum, and then lift station be constructed the following year. So we have, there was a way to get, portion of the levee built on this fall, because that would be.
We'll work together because we have to advise our tenant farmers, I think as we discussed when we were here a few days ago. So they have to certify their acres with the Farm Service Agency, so an acre's an acre, that, whether it's 1,000 or 1, it's all, they have to still do the paperwork with Farm Service on their certified acres, so we'll have to work with them on that because there's an impact initially, and then the acreage will change again once the permanent structure's in place. So there's some temporary acres that goes away after it's constructed, so.
Part of this, our hope was to bring it to the board and let you know what we're doing, and that we're progressing. And we're going to be meeting with the park board, the park folks, later this week on this too, because we're going to be on the south edge of their land that they lease from you. So.
Well, that park up there isn't going to be protected, is it? The softball and some of the other.
We'll be south of that.
Yeah.
Well, the softball diamonds on the west, those will be in the
Those will be
protected area,
protected.
but the park district has the land at least on
Well,
the east side by the
yeah.
river.
What I'm referring to is the park up here.
Correct.
Inside
Yeah, it'd be on the right side.
Protected.
cricket field.
I use that park every day.
There's also been talk of development up in this area to the north of the river area. And our hope is whatever we build will tie into what they have to build as part of their development. So,
Yeah, that's all for sale.
Okay, any further discussion before we call for the question?
Yeah, I'm favoring an appraisal and not a donation kind of situation, so I don't know how much it's.
That was, yeah. Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
airport construction and security update. Okay.
I guess as far as the SRE building goes, I thought Terry was gonna be here, but, the plans and specs have been submitted to the FAA for review, so, as of probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I haven't gotten anything back on that. As well as the, eligibility analysis, which will basically break down, what is eligible for, federal AIP funding and what is not. Our preliminary determination is 95% eligible. We just need the FAA to concur with that. As far as the cargo apron expansion goes, not a whole lot new to report there. We're still continuing our discussions with wastewater treatment plant on what our final agreed upon approach to disposal is. And I think we can get that wrapped up soon, and we're still pushing to have everything submitted to the FAA towards the end of January. So that's it. And then Eric, we still have not received any word back from FedEx as far as a phone interview for this Cat 2, but I did get some contacts for their chief pilot, so we'll be reaching out to them.
Okay. I was waiting to hear from you.
Yep.
Let's see, I'm thinking anything security-wise, I don't think we have anything.
Anybody from TSA? No.
We did submit a letter to the Federal Security Director requesting consideration for a third lane. So when they bring the new machine here sometime in the next year, they would have to make arrangements to ship one of the machines that we currently have at the checkpoint out. We're asking them to leave that machine here so that they can do a 3-lane function. So the Federal Security Director, his supervisor forwarded that out to Homeland Security, and we'll see if they look upon that favorably. What that would require is the walls on each side of the checkpoint are movable. They would be moved out, I think 5 additional feet is how far we can go on each side. And they're working now to see what they can fit into that space if they approve and agree with keeping the third unit here.
Mr. Chairman, was the original design available for 3 lanes? Is it, so this is thought out well in advance?
We believe so, based on what we knew at the time that it was designed.
Okay.
So we put the walls in to do a 2-lane operation, but made it expandable based on what the TSA knew at that time.
Okay.
Back in, 2000, when we do the addition, 2007, 2008. Hopefully things haven't changed. Hopefully their equipment has become more streamlined and more efficient. So outside of that, let's see, our nonstop service to Phoenix starts this week on American. That's seasonal service. So it gets extremely busy with 2 Allegiant flights, 2 Frontier flights, and American flights, sometimes all within about a 2.5-hour window. I think it's going to be extremely busy in the checkpoint. So outside of that, trying to think of anything else that we have coming up. The restroom partitions were put in.
Like the shelf.
Berlin did that, so if you, well, you'd have to go in the men's room to take a look, but if you want to see partitions in the shelves, they're in. And they did
Yes,
add
I'll
the-
just trust you.
the shelves, so, TF Powers completed that, and it seems to
It
be
was
working out
mine,
really well,
right?
so. Aaron Byram is our interim airfield supervisor that's here. Henry is off on some medical leave for a little while. Had some shoulder surgery. but,
Twisted his arm, I heard.
Yeah, so he's filling in until Henry's able to come back, so. They put in a lot of hours here over the last few weeks. But we did take delivery of the new spray truck that we ordered. That's a $500,000 unit from MB. They've experimented a little bit with it. I've got to get used to driving it. It's a 6-wheel steering truck. It's a big truck. Same one that Sioux Falls purchased. And then I think we have 2 brooms and a snow blower coming any day now, correct? We'll have a full complement of snow removal equipment that we ordered here some time ago. So, but them, along with some firefighters that are off duty, they've been doing a great job keeping the airfield open, and a few 24-hour shifts, but they're doing
Thank you.
fine. So, anything else, Darren, Jordan, or?
Okay, before we go into executive session, I'll give you just a update. We are still in negotiating with the city for mediation. We met yesterday, we're meeting again today. So we have no public statement on the negotiations. And at this time, we're going to go into recess to have an executive session, bring the board up to date on those negotiations. So thank you all for,
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to make sure that the public knows that all the negotiations are confidential,
correct.
and everyone has signed confidentiality agreements.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So we will take a recess.
I think, do we need a motion to
Do
go
we
into
need-
executive
Yes.
session? Okay.
So moved.
So,
Second.
okay. Move in a second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you all for attending. We will notify you if you want to come back. We'd entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting's over.